Hello guys and welcome to the next tutorial. There is a product I wanted to showcase and it's actually part of the showcase of selected high quality products recommended by Epic Games. It's the Twisted Bytes interaction system. And this is like an interaction system of all interaction systems. If you are implementing this one, you probably can solve most interactions in between actors with just the use of this plugin. So this is a code plugin with very good reviews. It is very well documented. It got serious documentations that you need to get acquired with, and you need to just go through it because it might be a bit intimidating at first, but once you get a hold of it, it's really amazing. So I wanted to show you how you can start with it from scratch without the demo project, just a completely new project. So I create a new project that is a third-person example. It doesn't do anything special, it's just a third-person example with basic animations, basic character, nothing to it. I enabled few plugins, all of them are free, and most important, the Twisted Bytes interaction system. And the rest are just some visual plugins that don't really matter that much. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is I need some gameplay tags for the interaction system that could specify by hand, but I'm actually lazy, and I'm going to copy the table of the gameplay tags from the plugin itself. So it was a data table TBAI gameplay tags twist. Yeah, it's this one. So I'm just going to copy it to the content, make a copy. Inside my content, I should create a new folder, call it data. I'm going to move this here. And now I'm going to open project settings. I'm going to go into gameplay tags. I'm going to say, please specify gameplay tag table list. I'm going to add new table list that I just created and specified here. So I just select it, make sure that it's exactly this one, and now I got all those gameplay tags. Just to be sure that they are refreshed to the project, I'm going to restart in a second. Okay, I managed to restart the project. All the gameplay tags are here now for sure. And I also went one step further and just added polygon prototype pack to the projects because I didn't want to use the modeling tools to create some interactable object like a door. So now I will have that as well. So I'll go back into content and let's start making our default character interactable character. So yeah, we want to find our character. It is here, and we can of course add components, add interfaces, but the easiest way would be to reparent the character class to a class that is specified by the plugin. Of course, in future there will be multiple other options of just adding the functionality without reparenting, but this is the fastest, and I'm going to go this way. TBIA, and it's a gas character base. It's this one, and now that I have this character reparented, it works exactly the same. Nothing changed, the character still spawns, runs the same, and nothing is different, except that now it implements an interface that we're going to use, and it also has two additional components: the ability system component TBAI. So this is an extended ability component, but this is also still a normal ability component, which means that this character is already compatible with gameplay ability system, the general purpose one. And there's a TBAI interaction component that we need to make very small setup here. So we're going to go into interaction, config, and we need to be able to grant some abilities to our ability system. And we need to create an input mapping data asset. And this one is also important. So you're going to go back here, back here, go into data, and we're going to go here, and we have a new category here, twisted bytes, and we need to get into data assets, gas input mapping, just create one. I'm going to leave it at the default naming, and what we need is just go into interaction, add new mapping, specify interact, and what we need here is to create a passive ability. So let's just pin it here for a second, and let's create our first ability. Let's go back to content. Let's create new folder, abilities, and inside here I can also just right click, go here, abilities, and we need interact passive. Okay, and we're going to call it GA underscore, and actually interact passive is what I would call it. So it's going to stay, and let's open it up, and we don't need really anything here. We're not going to do any coding. Everything is already coded on the C++ level. So what we need here, just go into class defaults, and we can set up some things here. So first of all, we do want to see debug. We might want to specify a gameplay tag, but it's not necessary. Do we really even need it? So more of a functional thing. Well, we don't even need attacks for this. This stays by default. Activate ability on granted true, so this stays at default. Time period 0.1. So this is trying to do some saving of the performance, not ticking on every frame. Max range, let's leave it at 300, and trace start location head socket is the default. I haven't added any socket to my skeleton, so I will just specify head, because bones can be used as sockets, but you could add a socket, for example, to your root bone that will be static against the entire character, not moving with the animations, and just offset it up, so you have a very steady trace place. Trace start location could be from the center of the camera or from socket. Let's do the socket. And the thing is that it's still targeting the center of the view of the active camera of the camera manager, but the start of the trace is going from either the camera word position, or it's going from the socket that we specify here. So I'm doing socket. Trace channel, it can be anything you want. Let's do maybe visibility, and this can stay as none. Okay, so we got this, and now we can just specify it here. Let's go here, say granted abilities, interact passive, and it should be automatically activated. So now just hit play, and we can see it, but I need to offset my camera to see it a bit better. So let's change the camera boon to, let's say, 300, and let's give the socket offset something like 55, 35, and now it will be like this. So this goes 300 units, so 3 meters away from the specified socket, so from the head, but still targeting the middle of the screen always. And this will activate or deactivate any interacting objects. So this is the start. Let's now create an interactive object. Okay, so to be able to interact with an object, we need to add an input that's going to be responsible for the interaction, and then we need an active interaction ability, and then an object that we're going to take interaction with. So let's quickly go and open our project settings, and we need to add an input. For now, we unfortunately have to rely on the classic input settings, but I already talked with the developers, and they're adding the support of the enhanced input controller, the new one. So let's make an action. Let's call it accordingly, as it should be called due to tutorial that is on the website. and let's pick a key. Let's say that it's F, a very classic activation key. Okay, so now we got this, and we're going to go here and create a new ability. It's going to be ability, and there are like different types of animations. You have like animations, interactions with animations, interactions that are moving you to certain locations, locking, continuous. There's like a lot, but we're just going to make a very simple one. So just do interact active, and let's call it GA gameplay ability underscore interact active. Okay, that's fine. Let's open it up. Trace channel is going to be the same as we specify. So visibility, trace, effects, aim, pitch. Well, yes. And we're going to again specify the socket. The socket is head. It's basically the same settings. Max range is 300. No check interval 0.1. That's absolutely okay. And it has automatically assigned gameplay effects that are controlling the interaction process itself. So they are doing the calls into the components, they're doing the calls into everything. And you can see that now that I specify the gameplay tags from the table, I even have some gameplay tags already specified inside the default abilities that I create. And again, I don't need to overwrite anything. I think that's the entire setup that I need here. I should go back into my gas input mapping, and interact is not interact passive, it's interact active. So GA underscore interact active. Just save this. Make sure that is properly mentioned here, and it's not. So let's put it here. So now we have this interact passive. We need to grant interact active. Let's go here, go again into class defaults, activate on granted no, cannot activate where yes. Okay, and show debug. Okay. So we got passive and active ability, we got this mapping, we got the input, and inside here we don't need to actually do anything. We can have a very clean blueprint thanks to that, because we don't have to code in any logic in here. Everything is being handled by the gas system itself. Okay, so let's go back here to those blueprints, and let's create a very simple actor that will be a door. Easiest, fastest way will be creating from a shortcut here. So twisted bytes actor gas actor base. Yes, and let's call it just VP underscore door. Very original. Let's open it up and let's add a static mesh, and let's make the static mesh the default scene root, and the mesh will be frame 1. Okay, it's this guy. And let's add another mesh, and let's make it a static mesh as well, and let's call it door, and this one let's call it frame. Okay, so we got frame and door. Door will be, well, door. Okay, let's move it a bit. Okay, let's move it forward a little so it's kind of on the middle. Let's maybe change the base material. I like the green. Let's leave it at green. Okay, so we got this door, and you can see that it automatically also got the interaction component. It has ability system component, and it has the interface. And if we want to make a very simple interaction where you do not have like an interaction that is different depending on components that you are touching, so you could have like multiple buttons, or you don't want to have different kind of interaction if you are holding an input or if you are just clicking it, and just a very simple one. All you need to do is to find pre-interaction. So on pre-interact, which is already validated that it can interact, we're going to do this. And we also want to implement on interactable target lost and found. So let's do this as well. Lost and found. Okay. So we got those three events, and let's do something that will show us that this door is ready for interaction. So let's add overlap. Let's just add a box. Okay, a box collision will be fine. Come on here. Don't be shy. Oh, it's sometimes really buggy. I can't grab it for some reason. That's annoying. Let's compile it first. Well, Unreal Engine 5 has its problems as well. Okay, let's set the box extent. So on the X, it will be like, I would say 55, maybe wider 65. Then Y will be 32, no, smaller 20, and this will be 115. Yeah, and now we need to offset it 115 up, and my box extent okay, this way, but I think that 75 will work better. If I do minus 75, okay, so it works like this, so minus 70, no, minus 65, looked good. Okay, so I got this box extent, and now for this box extent light thickness, let's make it like 5 really thick lines, and there should be a color, and there is a color. Let's make it nice green so we know that it's good. Let's go here. So on interactable target lost and found, we want to take this box. I want to say hidden in game, and we want to say new hidden is true on target lost, and we want to say it's false on active on interactive found. So now if I target this door and I am in range for interaction, I should be able to see this outline. So let's see, I am next to it, outline, no outline. So I am registering that this door can be interacted with. So now I want to just trigger the interaction. So I want to trigger the interaction, and this is triggering the interaction. This is like the sure way that it's always triggering, and I want this door on interaction to always be triggerable. You can also override interface functions that are validate pre-interact. So you can, for example, do a check if, let's say, interacting actor distance to, if distance to us is lower or less or equal, actually, so less or equal the interaction range, so 300. So if this range is lower, then we can interact. If by any mean this changes, or we can do a lot of things here. For example, if we have a key, then we can interact. If we meet certain criteria, we can start the interaction. Then the interaction can get really complicated, but again, this is a very simple one. So now on pre-interaction, let's maybe do a timeline, and let's call it door timeline, and I'm going to make it really simple. I'm just going to add a trace. Float track, yes, let's call it door open, and it's going to go like this. So there's going to be key on 0, 0, and there's going to be a key at 1, 80. and length is just 1. I'm going to do this, and now it's more smooth. And we're going to go back here, here to the event graph, and we're going to say, okay, this is the simplest one. I should actually record if it's opened or not. But I can just do it like this, and on A just play, and on B just reverse, and I don't care for that. And multiple characters could like try to interact with this door and try to open and close it indefinitely multiple times. And we're going to say that this door set relative rotation, and we're going to rotate it. And this is a sweep. We're going to rotate it on which axis? Let's quickly check. On the z-axis, of course, on the z-axis. Let's go here. So z-axis is the door open. So to make this work, I don't need to do anything else. I think this is everything. If I just hit play now, I can interact. I press F, it opens, it closes, and I can interact with it multiple times. I can interact with any of the components, so with the frame as well, and it's working correctly. So what's the really big benefit of this entire plugin? Well, because it is running on Game Playability System, it is client predicted but server authoritative, which means that this works out of the box with multiplayer. The only thing I need to make sure for this to work with multiplayer, to make sure that the actor itself is properly replicated. So let's go here and let's go into replication. And the default, because I created an actor from TBAA gas actor base, it's already replicated properly. However, I absolutely hate the net load on client thing. And because I am changing relative rotation, I do want to replicate movement, and I do want to make sure that door component is replicated. Otherwise, I will not see this happening in multiplayer. But I just make sure that this is replicated and the actor is replicated. And you can see that those events, they don't tell you if they are on the server or on the client. You don't have to bother with that. You don't have to bother if you are on listen server. You don't have to bother if you are running a dedicated server. This will just work on multiplayer. And we can test that. So to make it a proper test, let's go to net mode, play as client, which means dedicated server. But before we add more players, let's go to advanced settings. And we're going to do a few things. So we're going to, we don't need to launch separate server by default. Under one process, definitely no. Play as client, yes. Show server debug drawing by default, okay. Enable network emulation. And for network emulation, we're going to say everyone are simulating lag. And the lag is an average network connection. So ping between 30 and 60 and 1% package lost. So we actually are going to even have packages absolutely lost in communication in between the clients and the server. So this is a very harsh scenario that would happen in a very massive game. Let's make it, let's say 4 or 3 players, and let's just run it. Whoops, I think I forgot about one very important setting. Inside the character itself, you need to find get character context function, and here you need to specify, actually you can specify 2 character meshes. So you can specify the third person and first person character mesh that could be used later on. But for us, we just need to specify the third person one, and the second one can be empty. I think this was the missing link. Let's try it out. Okay, so we got 3 characters now, and any of them can go to the door and start interacting with it, and it will replicate, and it will be super smooth on the character who is doing the interaction. It will replicate as fast as it can with all the features. You can see that the outline is being seen only by the character that is running this passive ability, because for performance reasons it is running only on the server and the owner, not on every remote client, which makes absolute sense. And if I switch to another character, he can go here and interact with the door as well. And it's very hard for me to do inputs on 2 characters as well, but you have to believe me. I did see it in a live scenario where multiple characters could be standing on 2 opposite sides of this door and trying to open or close it, preventing the other character from completing his action. So yeah, this is not like AGR Pro, where AGR Pro is more of a helping tool that allows you to solve your own problems and just do it a little bit faster. This is a complete solution that solves all the interaction problems, and everything is just wrapped within functions. And if I find time, and hopefully I will go through all the functions and all the possible interaction types. And I highly encourage you to download the example content, because it goes through multiple layers of different interaction, where you have even matching animations, interactions that can be cancelled on demand, or they could be forcefully cancelled by another player's actions. Just a lot of really good examples of all the use cases. And honestly, I never even thought about how many use cases of interaction between actors you could have. So yeah, this is Twisted Bytes interaction plugin. I highly recommend it. Thanks for listening, and see you in the future tutorials, guys. Bye.